new to my channel, I'm just a girl who likes reading romance, fantasy romance, paranormal romance, any kind of genre of romance in general. And I also happen to have cerebral palsy, and it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe to my channel. Happy Friday! Today's video is going to be my May end of the month wrap up. I'm going to talk about all the books I read in the second half of May. I'll link my February mid-month wrap up down below in the description in case you want to know more about the books I read at the beginning of the month of May. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. It's a fantasy romance series. I'm just gonna come right out and say it. I'm part of the minority of the people that did not like this book. I thought the audiobook was horrible. So if you do read this book, I suggest reading it physically. I was just not gonna buy the ebook because the ebook cost $14. So I figured I'd buy the audiobook, but the audiobook was bad. You could hear the narrator like swallowing every 4 sentences, and that's why I didn't like it. And other stuff, if you don't know what Fourth Wing is about, you have Violet, who wants to be a scribe, but her mother, who's like the general, forces her to be a dragon rider. And she has this romance with a guy named Zayden. She goes to dragon school, and that's basically the gist of it. I don't know what the disability is called, but she has brittle bones, like her bones are very sensitive. I don't know what that disability is called, but I will say the book had great disability rep. I did not like everything else, and the dragons were pretty cool, but I just couldn't get past the narrator, so I gave this book 2 stars. The next couple books is by Catharina Maura. I'm gonna go through these books really quickly because I have an author guide to Catharina Maura. I'll link down below in the description, so if you want to know my full thoughts, please go watch that video. First we have Until You. It's a brother's best friend romance. I give that book 3 stars. Dr. Grant. It's a age gap forbidden romance because the heroine is the hero's boss's granddaughter. I gave this one 4 stars. Professor Astor. It's a nanny romance, professor romance. I give this one 4 stars. Bittersweet Memories by Catharina Maura. I gave 5 stars. It's a second chance amnesia romance. The Temporary Wife by Catharina Maura. I gave 4 stars. The Temporary Wife is about a marriage of convenience between this billionaire and his secretary because he doesn't want to get married to the person his grandmother picked for him. So he asks his secretary to be his wife. It's a marriage of convenience. If you want to know my full thoughts on Catharina Moore's books, I listen to the audiobooks on most of them. Please go check out my guide to Catharina Moore. Read books by Tal Bauer. And I have a new to me author video about Tal Bauer linked below in the description. So if you want to know my full thoughts, please check out that video. Gravity, which is an hockey romance, I gave 4 stars. You and Me, 5 stars. The Rest of Our Story by Tal Bauer is also an hockey romance. I also gave 5 stars. So if you want to know my full thoughts on these books by Tal Bauer, again, please go watch my video linked in the description. And next, we have a couple of small town romances. And I just did a small town romances recommendation video where I talk about these books. So if you want to know my full thoughts about these small town romances, please go watch my small town romance recommendation video. Rewrite Our Story by Singleton, I gave 4 stars. Underneath the Stars by Laura Pavlov, I gave 5 stars. The One Who Loves You by Peppa Grant, I gave 4 stars. Rich in Your Love by Peppa Grant, I gave 4 stars also. Iced Out by Victoria, I can't remember her last name, but Iced Out by Victoria. I'll put the picture up here.
I read this book because
really
of Christy from Christy Reads a Lot.
Easton and Maya. One day at Easton's college game, he's playing hockey, and he sees this woman in the stands wearing the opposite team's jersey. So he lost because he was distracted by the girl who was wearing the opposite team's jersey. And he goes to a bar and then sees that girl again. Turns out that girl's name is Maya, and she is his rival's twin sister. So Easton is very curious about Maya. He tries to get her to go on a date with him, but Maya keeps saying no because she has been burned before by hockey players. She went out with her brother's teammate, and that didn't end well, but Easton is persistent. I love this book. I gave it 5 stars. Though the way Easton is there for Maya was so beautiful to see. Maya struggles with anxiety, and the way Easton handles that was so sweet and so swoony to me. Then I read Power Play for a book club. This is also another hockey romance, and this one we have Rex, who is a coach for a hockey team in college. He goes back to New York. He was a professional hockey player, but he has an injury that ended his career. So he moves to Texas, but then he comes back for a job opportunity with his little girl, and he has a romance with Sawyer, who is his daughter's preschool daughter's daycare teacher. And I give this book 3 stars. It was okay. Then I read Branded by Fire by Naomi Singh. It is the 6th book in the Side Changeling series. If you don't know what the Side Changeling series is, the Side who doesn't feel any emotions, who got rid of all their emotions. And then we have the Changeling who's like a bunch of shifters and can feel all sorts of emotions. But Branded by Fire is the 6th book, and we have a romance between 2 shifters instead of a shifter and a side this time. It's a romance between 2 shifters. And in this world we have the Dark River Pack and the Snow Leopard Pack. The Dark River Pack are shifters, kind of like cats, and the Snow Leopard Pack are like werewolf shifters, and Mercy is a cat shifter who's like a sentinel in the Dark River Pack, and Riley, who is a lieutenant in the Snow Leopard Pack, Snowpiercer Pack, but different species of they have a treaty. These 2 packs have a treaty with each other, and they're cordial. Every time they need help, they seek one another's advice. But 2 different species of shifters are not allowed to intermingle, even though Mercy and Riley are mates. So that's what this book is about. I read A Crown of Oaths and Curses by J. Bree. I really liked this one. Although before you read A Crown of Oaths and Curses, I do suggest reading the novellas before this. But in this world, you have witches and fae. The fae and witches are mortal enemies, and they don't like each other. And you can see that the main character, Rook is the female, and the fae, she's the witch, and Soren is the fae. And you see in the prequel that Soren and Rook are trying to escape their fates, but in the full-length book, they can no longer ignore their fates, so they have to be thrown together. They are fated mates. They have to get married, but Soren doesn't like witches because he thinks witches are evil, and even though Rook helps his people, helps his cousin and the other people in his kingdom, he still thinks Rook has an ulterior motive. And in this world, the Unseelie Court, which Soren is a part of, forgot all about their magic. They forgot all about their teachings. And when Rook comes in proximity to them and sees how she uses her powers for good, she they realize maybe they have to start using their powers again. If you go into this book, don't expect a romance. In book 1, there is no romance. Soren hold on to the belief that Rook has an interior motive, that she's up to something, and that she's a witch, she's a terrible person. He holds on to that belief until the very end, even though you'll see throughout the book that he finds her attractive, but he never wavers at that until the 90% of the book. And I will say, Rook is a badass heroine. The things she does in that last 90% when the enemies attack, I just loved it. I gave it 4 stars. I'm hoping that
Soren does some groveling
at the
in
end.
book 2
And I really
because
like
he
Rook's
really needs to
magic.
grovel.
I read 2 arcs. I read an arc of Out on a Limb by Hannah Bottom Young. And here we have Winifred. They call her Win, and she goes to her best friend's Halloween party, and she has a one-night stand with this guy named Bo. And it's disability rep because I don't know what this particular disability is called, but when you have one limb shorter than the other, that's her hands are like smaller than her one hand is smaller than her other hand. I don't know what that's called. And Bo has an amputated leg. So it's disability rep. After their one-night stand, Win finds out she's pregnant. So it's a surprise pregnancy. And I really loved it. I can't say more about this because it doesn't come out until July 11th. So, but I loved it. I loved the slow burn romance, the forced proximity, the caretaking, the disability rep. It comes out July 11th. Pre-order this book by Hannah Bottom Young. It was so good. I loved it. I gave this book 5 stars. It will be one of my favorites of this year. Is Reckless by Elsie Silver. I got the arc and the audio arc of Reckless, and it's Winter's story, and it's her romance with Theo. Winter and Theo have a one-night stand to celebrate her divorce from her husband, because her husband is not a good person. And 9 months later, you find out that Winter has a baby girl, a daughter, and she's a single mom. And it's a secret baby. And Theo moves next door to her. And Theo finds out about his daughter. And it was just so good. Theo Silva is definitely one of my top book boyfriends of the year. And I loved how Winter set out her goal to fix her relationship with her sister. With her sister Summer. I love that the Eatons accepted her with open arms. I love that she found her community and that she has her dream of becoming a mother. Trigger warnings for miscarriage and infertility. I give this book 6 stars. I loved it. Please pre-order Reckless. It comes out June 9. Those are all the books that I've read in the second half of May. Please let me know down in the comments below if you have read any of these books. I would love to know. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. That would mean the world to me. And I'll see you on Monday. Bye.